Best. Human resources and management professionals representing local employers. They'll be sharing the skills they seek in employees and how, in many cases, Toastmasters can enhance those skills. Our panel moderator is District 9 Lieutenant Governor Education and Training, Jim Marquardt, who will lead the panelists in introducing themselves. Jim has been in Toastmasters since 2007 and has held various offices within his club, as well as serving twice as area governor and once as division governor. He is currently the Pendleton Club's Vice President of Membership and recently completed his Advanced Communicator Gold Award. Please give a warm and generous welcome to Jim Marquardt.
Thank you very much, Karen, for that great introduction. I really appreciate the time that the panel has given us to be here this morning. What I would like to do, what I will do, yes, do I need to move over this way? This is being recorded this morning, so you will each get a copy if everything works all right. Starting with Patty, would you give us a 1 to 2 minute introduction about yourself and what you do?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Jim. My name is Patty Murray. I work for Washington Trust Bank in the Human Resources Department and Corporate Training. My role in the organization really encompasses all of human resources and corporate training. It's organizational development. And I've been in the banking industry for over 20 years. It's a great industry. It's a great, there's so many different jobs and avenues to explore in banking as far as careers. And really, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Judy Baggerly, and I'm the Senior Director of Talent Management for Itron. I have been with Itron for actually since May 5th. Prior to that, I too was in the banking industry for roughly 20 years, dating myself. And the role of talent management encompasses recruiting, actually systems, all of the HR systems report up through me, and everything organizational development, leadership development, and training. We are a global company, so that adds a whole new element to my my toolkit. But that's, in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Good morning. My name is Jason Witten. I moved here to beautiful Lake Coeur d'Alene 11 years ago from Sacramento to start a family. And I've been very successful with that because I have a 10-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. My son is really into sports, and we started this new fantasy football, and we've actually been #1 because of all of his advice he's given me. And my daughter has the same musical ear that I have, and I'm teaching her piano, and I didn't start playing music until I was about in high school, and to see her at 5 years old memorizing these songs. We're working on the Frozen song, Let It Go, and she's already memorizing this fun. I'm a branch manager, and I work at Plaid Electric Supply. We have over 120 branches, and we have a sister company, Rexel, which has over 220 branches here in the United States. That's me in a nutshell, and what I do is just manage the branch and the people and the employees, and I'm looking forward to any questions that you have, and very honored to be a part of this panel, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason.
Hello, I'm Brittany Stockstill with Kootenai Health, and in HR, I support approximately 1,200 employees throughout our hospital, and supporting them in everything from recruitment to benefits to employee relations, and anything I can do to help make their employment successful at Kootenai. The biggest aspect of my role is the employee relations area, where I support the employee and the managers building that relationship to be successful. And that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. We will give the audience at the very end a chance to ask some questions. And it appears, I don't need a mic, but the young ladies and the gentlemen here, it really does make a difference to have a mic. And rather than pass the mic all the way back down here, since it's closest to Jason, I will ask him, and then he can pass the mic to whoever he wants to answer the next question. So Jason, What are some of the biggest challenges in fulfilling the talent needs of your organization?
Some of the biggest challenges that we're looking for is finding the right people that fit into our culture at our business, finding the right people with those skills that they learn at the dinner table. Not the technical skills that we could teach them with our universities and online classes. It's really the people that have personal integrity, that are dependable and responsible, and they're willing to have that desire to improve and to improve themselves. And those are the people that we're really seeking out and have more difficulty doing that. As a matter of fact, we have an incentive program that is a recruiting incentive program for employees. So when they go to a place and they see really good customer service, or they see someone that just stands out that may be fitting to our culture, we give them a card. We say, hey, you looking for a career with Plaid? We'll give them some info. We even have these little signs. It's looking for a career, come bug us. Because we have a lot of opportunities at Plaid Electric. And we see the right people with the right fit, we go after them and we give them a card and encourage them to come to our website and maybe try out what they might have a career with Plaid.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I would say one of our biggest challenges with Kootenai Health is finding individuals who are committed to patient care and really have a passion to be in the healthcare industry. Even though we have a range of multiple positions that don't directly relate to specific patient care, it all ties together in the end. So having that person have knowledge of the healthcare industry is critical for us because there's lots of different avenues that play into that role, just not patient care. So that's a big challenge. The other challenge that we face today is competitive wages. We compete with Spokane, and most of the healthcare industry over there in Spokane are corporate industries that have nationwide coverage that support their wages, where we are still a independent community-run hospital, growing of course, but we struggle having that competitive wage with Spokane and their multiple healthcare industries over there across state lines. So that's a big challenge for us that we're facing today.
I'm not sure I need a mic, but we'll go, because I talk really loud anyway. So much like Jason and Brittany were talking about wages and finding those kind of behavioral-based skills, those are a challenge, but Itron has an additional challenge right now specifically, and that's we're changing our business model. So in the past, we've recruited more technical and, widget makers, I guess is the best way to put it. We're shifting because to be competitive, it's no longer good enough to make a great product. You have to be able to support it. So we're going more into a software kind of cloud technology. We're shifting to a customer service-based entity, and that requires a whole different kind of skill set. So you actually have to change your recruiting model, and that's a bit of a challenge because you also have to deal with the existing workforce and kind of retooling them. Whereas you were great manufacturing a part, now you have to be great manufacturing a service. So that really is adding a whole new element. And since we're global, staying on top of the competitive wages globally and dealing with the interesting labor unions across the world, that also adds a huge element to the challenges that we're facing right now as an organization. And on top of everything else, you have to be competitive. So really, that is really our biggest challenge right now.
Thank you.
Our greatest challenge is finding individuals that that enjoy building relationships with people and connecting with people. We're a local bank, but we're in Washington, Idaho, Oregon, and Montana. And so we're about the relationship. We want to be that bank for customers and clients that find a distinct value in us, and they do that through the products and services we offer, but through the people that they interact with. So our challenge is, really finding people that have an innate ability to connect with other people and also have those competencies to be a good banker and financial advisor. So those are some of the challenges that we're facing.
Okay. Many experts refer to a skill gap. Does your organization find it difficult to hire workers who offer the skills you need, Patty?
I would just kind of tag on to what I said
Yes, go ahead.
about building relationships and connecting. We are, one of the things that we are finding hard as far as skills gap is that it's not, banking is changing, that landscape is changing quite a bit. And when it used to be, are you technical in this aspect of banking? So let's say it's wealth management or accounting or IT. You now need to be able to have some pretty dynamic communication skills, which is where I think Toastmasters is a great opportunity to acquire those. And if you already have some great dynamic skills in communication, then you can enhance them. So I would have to say you really have to have a good balance of the core competencies needed for the position and that communication piece.
Thank you. Judy?
My answer is pretty much the same as our biggest challenge. I would say from a skills standpoint, the biggest gap that we've got right now is ITRON specifically, our median age is about 48. And so we actually are having to go out and recruit we call them fresh outs. And that's your college students that you want to kind of get right off the ground, because the skill that we're finding the biggest gap in is that ability to think innovatively, and that's where you find it. So that really is our biggest skill gap.
Jason, let's hear what you have to say.
We really don't. The skills gaps that may be missing is the integrity, the dependability, the people that have those dinner skills that they've learned growing up. We think of it as a big glacier or like something that you would see. You only see the top of the iceberg, and we call that the technical skills. It's everything that's below the surface and underneath is really what we have a difficult finding. We have our own university there where we teach leadership skills. We integrate with Toastmasters. So the technical part of it, once again, is something that we could teach the people. It's the other stuff of being responsible, being that self-improvement, and wanting to improve themselves as, you know, the people that we're really trying to find that do fit our culture.
Thank you. Brittany?
My response is very similar to Jason's. We don't necessarily see a large skills gap because there's multiple educational programs that support the healthcare industry. We have lots of people who come in with that education aspect of it, meeting the skills expectation. It's the behavioral gap that we're missing. The younger generation that's coming in, less commitment, they're much more mobile. They, if they don't like something or they're ready to move on to that next opportunity, they do. Where we've seen historically that we're more committed, older generation is more committed to their employers, so they're staying much longer, whereas the younger generation is not necessarily as committed and lack that integrity. They're ready to move on once they don't like something. So we're seeing more of a behavioral gap versus a skills gap in our organization.
Okay, thanks, Brittany. I just want to take this few seconds to remind everybody to be courteous and be sure to shut your cell phones off. I mispronounced that one, didn't I? And that'll give these panelists an opportunity to think about the next question I'm going to ask. Brittany, while some of the skills your organizations need in its workers are probably technical or specialized, what soft skills are at the top of your list as desirable in your new employees?
Yes, just to kind of go back to reiterate on my previous answer there, I think our most desirable skill set or behavioral expectation is the commitment. Coming in the door and, really putting your best foot forward and committing yourself. Once you accept that job offer, we're giving you everything we can possibly give you to be successful in the organization. And if we can get that commitment out of you, it's going to be a successful relationship with the employee and the employer, as well as availability. Our specific industry is 24/7. We're always accepting patients and discharging patients, and the availability for your job is a priority for us too, being able to work special hours, odd hours, stuff like that. So you just want to make sure that we have that commitment and availability out of our employees.
Thank you. Jason?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. When we hire anyone, the first thing we do is we hand them what is called our core competencies. And this is something that helps keep our culture alive. It's really important to keep our culture. And as we keep growing and bringing more people in, we want to make sure that our culture's there. So with this core competencies, we're looking for people that have the desire to improve, that are energizer, that have the knowledge and skills, that are business-minded, that communicates effectively, where Toastmasters come in. We're also looking for the personal integrity, the leadership skills that they want to come in and be future leaders of our company. So it's really those soft skills that we're really trying to get a hold of. And the technical side, we could teach them that. Thank you.
Thank you. Judy?
My answer is almost exactly the same. I would say what's at the top of our list from a soft skills standpoint is the ability to effectively communicate. That exists across, regardless of if you're in a leadership role, individual contributor, a frontline supervisor. If you lack the ability to effectively communicate, that's where our organization will fail. So we put a lot of energy behind that, and when we recruit, that's something that we really, really gauge and guide our managers to make sure that they include in the interviewing.
Thank you. Patty?
It comes back to communication again, and not just verbally, but written. I mean, really, what we're seeing in some instances is just, the texting. It's a great tool. Texting is such a great communication delivery channel. However, when you send an email and you're not spelling out the words and using proper English and grammar, it reflects on you and your credibility. So that is another piece of that. We have a very, very robust training program department for our retail branches, for our corporate side of the house. And so a big part of that is our leadership trainings, the technology side as well. And so it's really that communication piece. We can stand up in a training and talk to you about how to become a better communicator. And it's up to you to take those skills, that knowledge, that information, and transfer it from that meeting, like a Toastmasters meeting, or training, or a seminar that you go to, or a college class. But it's not enough just taking the class, it's really being able to demonstrate those skill sets and those competencies.
Thank you, Patty. Our next question, which I find very interesting because you touched upon it, is what trends are you currently seeing in hiring, perhaps related to millennial use of social media to recruit, background/credit checks, video interviewing?
So for the millennials, there's so many different social medias out there, or mediums, and for us, there used to be a time in banking when credit checks and background checks and all that were very, very important. They still play a part in the recruiting and interview process, but I would have to say that the social media is you can leverage that, but leverage it in a way that's advantageous for you. Lock down Facebook and use LinkedIn. In fact, put examples of your work upload it to LinkedIn. Video interviews are really becoming big now. And so we encourage you to have examples, referrals, a video on LinkedIn. And a big piece of this is your network. Create a network of professionals. Utilize your network for career opportunities. Many times it's talking with who you know and finding out about jobs and opportunities before they're up on a job board. And there's so many different places to go and post resumes and look for jobs. It can get very overwhelming. So our recommendation is to create a network, build a network, and you can start with Toastmasters and the people that you meet within the clubs and the conferences.
Thank you. Judy?
So with Itron being global, video interviewing is huge, and we use Skype quite a bit. And one additional thing that we have started doing recently is, because you have to be proactive when it comes to sourcing, we constantly are reaching out through LinkedIn, and we have, I would say, globally, we have probably 20 different seats in the recruiting side of LinkedIn, and we have to aggressively go out and search for candidates. And that's primarily because the workforce is changing. And as we shift into 2015, what we're seeing is the availability of the skills that we need isn't there. And it's very, very competitive. So there has to be a competitive advantage. And so that's kind of what we're doing right now, is shifting our recruiting strategy more into that video, trying to use as much technology as we can.
Thank you, Judy. Jason.
Technology is amazing, and we really embrace it, not only in our networking, but also in recruiting. And we encourage our employees to go out and get these people when we're recruiting. And yeah, we do the video interview. So we'll do a personal online interview to bring someone from corporate, Portland or wherever it is, to come interview this person. Why not have it on video? And we do embrace that technology, and we do a lot of video interviews, and I think that is the future. Everyone wants information fast. It saves us a ton of time, and it saves us money to be able to do that. So we're really into the technology and embracing it.
Thank you, Jason. Go ahead.
Kootenai Health does similar avenues as well. We use all social media networks, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We still do the traditional job fairs here and there to do some of our recruiting, especially more on the clinical side of positions for Kootenai. But we find that WebEx and Skype are two huge avenues when we're trying to recruit, whether it be directors or executives or even nurses from across the states, that we will use that avenue to have that face-to-face interaction with a candidate, because we feel that's critical. We'll do a phone interview, but then we always follow it up. If the candidate's not able to make it to Coeur d'Alene, we'll follow up with a WebEx or a Skype interview. I agree with the rest of the panel, though. Using your Facebook, tightening it up, making sure there's no critical information out there that would prohibit you from getting a job somewhere, and also using LinkedIn as more of a professional network and building that network, because those are going to be your direct lines or avenues to obtain a position with a desirable company.
Thank you, Brittany. Here's another question that is really interesting, and I'd like each of the panel members to answer, starting with Brittany, is what advice would you give a job seeker wanting to land a job with your organization, or to flip-flop the question, what mistakes do you see job seekers make that you'd like to correct when applying for a job?
I guess one of the biggest things that we'd like to see more corrective action on is professional appearance. It surprises us every day when we have candidates come in for an interview and don't dress for the interview. I think you should always err on the professional side, regardless of the position that you're interviewing for or applying for. We always recommend, maybe if you go into the business or the place you're applying and just check out to see what everybody else is wearing. But regardless, you should always err on the professional side, because it will only help you in getting that position. The other things that we are looking for my specific industry in healthcare is a passion for patient care. As the healthcare industry is changing for us, it's more focused on customer service, and that employee giving their 100% on patient care and making sure that patient is adequately taken care of. So we're really pushing more forward that passion for patient care for our industry.
Thank you. Jason.
Don't be late. I have a hard time when I schedule someone for an interview and then they show up a couple minutes late. To me, it just shows that they're maybe not that responsible. If they would have called ahead, hey, everything happens, it's okay. But when we show up late for an interview, it's that first impression. I have a motto at work that I really try to instill in employees, and it's, if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. There's a couple of employees that struggle with that, and I'm working on that. But that's one of the things that get you, and you're right about the professional appearance. You may be interviewing for a truck driver job or a warehouse. It doesn't mean you show up in jeans and a t-shirt. You don't have to wear a tie, that's okay. But still, you're gonna eventually get promoted with Platinum. You're gonna have those positions where you do have to dress up. So when you show up with a t-shirt and jeans, it just shows that maybe you don't have that self-confidence, or you're not ready to move to that next level, and it is that first impression. So really, dressing for success is something I believe in. Also, some advice for someone that's looking for a career would be, really, when someone calls your cell phone, even though it's your personal cell phone, whatever greeting you have on there, you got to remember that maybe it's something you don't listen to because you're not checking it. Someone else hears it all the time. But I've heard some, they don't even say who their name is. It's, yo, you heard the beep, call me back. And I don't even know really if I'm calling the right person, or there's loud music in the background. This is just my first impression. So if you're really, maybe just change your greeting to something a little bit more professional, especially if someone's there getting ready to call you to schedule an interview. That's something that I've ran into, and it's that first impression. And once again, with Facebook, clean it up. You're right about LinkedIn. I totally agree. And that's something, that's the technology and future. Here we are.
Thank you, Jason.
Very similar answers. I would say the one piece of advice when you're, a couple of them, remember when you walk in the door, you're being assessed. So that person sitting at the front desk, we make it a standard process to actually ask the receptionist, what was your first impression? What did you think of when that candidate walked in the door? And dress not for the job you're interviewing for, dress for the job you want. So dress for the career you want. So if you're walking in the door, and a specific example, so you're walking in the door to be interviewed for a recruiting position, you better be dressed like you want to be an HR executive. That to me sends a really strong message, because when you've got a candidate coming in, as a candidate, you should expect not just to be interviewed for that position, but I want to know where I'm going to go next. Every college student we interview is not that, they're more interested in where are you going to get me? Not, I realize I'm walking in the door at entry level, but what's my next step? And so that's what you want to dress for. And again, yes, clean up your Facebook, because if anybody that thinks that a recruiter doesn't go out and look at that first before they call you, that they're really mistaken. So, and really have somebody look at your resume. It's worth it. Spend the time and energy and money to have somebody really look at that resume, because that is really your calling card. So spend the extra money to make sure that it's a professional resume.
Thank you, Judy. Patty?
Yeah, I would agree with Judy. Well, everyone actually. And then the last piece is that I would add to that would be do your research about the company, know the company, and be able to answer the question, why do you want to work here? And what do you bring to the table? And be able to wrap your interview up with that. This is why I would be a good fit for your organization. And I just can't stress enough about how important it is to do your research on the organization that you are interviewing with. And all the things that the rest of the panel said, I would say ditto to all of that.
Thank you, Patty. Each of you has some form of affiliation with Toastmasters. I want to ask each of you an individual question based on that experience. Patty, you are a Toastmaster member. How has membership benefited you? And what would you say if asked by another HR professional if investing in Toastmasters is worthwhile for the employer?
Toastmasters has been a awesome experience for me. I started with an organization back in, I guess I should say, my late 20s. I got promoted into management, and I was sitting, I'll just give you my experience with it and why I decided to become a Toastmaster. So I'm sitting at this table and I get asked this question, tell us about that project. And I looked at my manager and I just had this like, because I didn't know what to say. And then I discovered Toastmasters, and we learned how to table topics, speaking extemporaneous and impromptus. It helps build confidence. It helps build your competencies in communication. It allows you to enhance those skills so that you can clearly articulate your ideas and not be caught in a moment like that. You meet a lot of really great professionals and people. We are big advocates for Toastmasters. In fact, we have a program called Leading from the Line, and this is a program for our high potential employees. And what we do as a gift for them once they've completed the training is we give them 6 months of membership to Toastmasters.
Great. Judy, your company, Itron, has sponsored a corporate club since 2008. and the club is also open to the public. What benefits to the company have you seen in sponsoring the club?
A couple of things. We currently just have it in Spokane. We're actually going to roll it out globally next year, which is really exciting for my team. But the biggest benefit, specifically to opening up to the public, is exposure to Itron. And being able to actually, we use it as a recruiting tool. So the more familiar they become with our organization and kind of the development opportunities we provide, not only do they walk in the door with great communication skills, but they know Itron, and they've kind of developed some relationship with some Itron employees. So that really is the biggest benefit. We too offer it to our high potentials and constantly provide it as a development option for our managers to allow individuals to opt in. And so we really, really market it really well. And that's gone a long way in helping us develop some really, really strong leaders.
Thank you. Jason, your company, Platt Electric, integrates Toastmasters into the training program. Can you explain in a couple of minutes how that works?
It does. Even though we have our own university, we still have, we have online we have online training, and we also have hands-on training. But to reach out in the communities and utilize Toastmasters, it's a huge skill. So normally when you get into the leadership program, we require that you get your CC manual and your CL manual completed. And then on top of that, we have our university that we're continuing to teach on. And what it does is it really gives you the art of speaking, the art of communicating, even the table topics when you're quick thinking on your feet, which has helped me tremendously, especially when I interviewed for the higher end PACE program, which is Platt Accelerated Career Enhancement. And with that, I was able to answer the interview questions because I had done table topics. And really with Toastmasters, it's found in hidden talents that I didn't realize I had. As far as I could give a really good inspirational speech, I have really good communication skills, and I tell a ghost story around the fire when I'm camping, and it's just really enhanced the way that I'm able to have the eye contact, the self-confidence and everything. So for Toastmasters, for me, it's been an amazing journey. I've met a lot of good people that are Toastmasters, are always really to help you out. And for what it's done for me, it's been an amazing. I've been in the industry for 21 years, and this last couple of years, it's just been a great journey, and I love Toastmasters for what it's done for me. And Toastmasters for getting into the communities and teaching people these skills that they need to take on all aspects of their life. It's really great. So I enjoy it. It's done good for me. As a matter of fact, with our university, I was just asked to step up and help teach at our university. So I will be a part-time teacher there as well. It's been great. So I'd like to really thank Toastmasters for what it's done and helping me and helping my other employees. I see a huge difference when they come back from these meetings after about 10 speeches and all the table topics. And it just makes me feel really good that they're able to do that.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Great information. Brittany, Kootenai Health recently began providing meeting space to Lake City Toastmasters and has been promoting the club to employees. In what ways are you hoping Toastmasters will enhance your employees' training program?
Our organization has overall leadership ability among that role in the hospital. So,
thank you very much. I want to give a few minutes to the audience to see if the audience had any questions for our panel. Has anybody written down any questions that this panel didn't answer? Yes, Darlene.
Yes, instead of moving that, I'll just come out here. My question was, how do you communicate within your company to give memos, daily announcements, the internal communication? What do you do?
I'll answer that first.
Go ahead.
I'm a big email guy. I communicate through emails when we get messages and phone calls rather than a note on someone's desk and wasting paper. I really like a trail, so an email saying so-and-so's called or whatever. I do communicate through email mostly. I have all my employees checking their emails daily, a couple times a day, because that's how I communicate. But it's also important to get them one-on-one meetings, and it's also important to have meetings where you're all together, you can share your ideas, and you can actually talk to the people. So I do a lot of emails and communicate that way, but it is important to get together at least once a week or once a month with a safety meeting. But that's how we're doing it.
Brittany, did you have any comments on that?
Sure. Kootenai Health, we have 2,500 employees in multi-site locations, so communication is definitely a struggle at times for us to make sure everybody hears the same message and consistently. So we do several, like a Monday newsletter, we do mass emails, calendars, we have a centralized intranet site for our employees to go to at any point in time where we have updated communication. Regardless what the communication is, we have one centralized location where each employee knows that they can go to that specific area to get that standard communication.
Thank you. Judy, did you have some input, please?
The only thing, because we use an intranet as well as global emails, there's a couple of things that Itron does in addition to that. Our CEO does kind of town halls, and he goes throughout the globe. That's really, really important to him to get in front, and it's important to the employees, to get in front of our employees across the world. But we also make sure that we translate all of our communication into the 5 basic languages. We can't do it into all of them because we're in Indonesia, and they alone, there's like 12 languages there. But we do make sure that we adapt that to the cultural needs. And so that would be the additional things that Itron does.
Thank you. Patty?
I'll add one piece of that. We have the internet piece as well, and we also use videos. So we use a lot of educational videos, just like 1 little minute vignettes of training or just announcements and stuff.
Thank you very much, panelists. I want to thank each and every one of the panelists. I see we've run out of time. There's a lot of good information, and what I hope to do is to make this video available either on Facebook or LinkedIn, and each one of the panelists will get a copy if I did everything correctly. There's a lot of good information that sometimes we in the audience, we hear that, and until we hear it 2 or 3 times, we forget about it. And I want to thank each one of you for being here. I'm going to turn it over to Karen, our Toastmaster. And a round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you everyone for coming. There's lots of great information. I want to thank all of our panelists, and we have wonderful prizes for all of you.
A round of applause for the panel. Thank you very much for being here. With that, you're excused, unless the panelists would like to stay behind and answer any other questions. Thank you.